Hey guys, Dave Witcher, President FFL Velocity, and welcome to Weekend Warrior Podcast. And I'm with two young guys here, 21 and 22. Is that right?
Or 22 and 23.
22 and 23. We should call this the Young Guns. That's what we call it, the Young Guns. So I'm here in the Charlotte office, and my man Jason Whipple, right? Say hi.
Hello.
And then I've also got Melvin Tejada. Continued applause, right? All right, cool.
There you go.
And so, anyway, back over here. So, guys, listen, they're young, right? Like I love working with young people and just being around them, and we're all one team. It's funny because they're basically two different organizations, but again, it's all FFL, which is super cool. And but I'm gonna just let them talk a little bit about what they're doing now, things that are working for them, their mindsets every day, whatever they want to share, really. But I'm going to start with you, Joseph. You could just tell us a little bit about your background just quickly, like who you are, how long you've been here, things you're excited about, a little bit of your story, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so I've been here about 7 months. I think I just hit 7 months actually last week. Before this, I was a welder. I worked in a fabrication shop and I worked on old farm equipment, stuff like that. Not super exciting. It was hard physical work. This is actually the first job I've ever had that I'm indoors more than I am outdoors. So that was a little adjustment for me. I think the main thing, I've gotten a lot more into the building of the business side recently. Obviously learn how to sell first, how to protect families, and then use that to help build your business and teach other people how to sell. And I'm working on how to manage both of those right now.
Yeah. What's your record for families protected in a week and a month so far?
My record for in a week, I believe it was 13 or 15, and then in a month, right around 27.
Nice. Well, I love it, man. Well, I appreciate you, working hard and doing the things you do to serve the family. So that's pretty awesome. So, and then we're going to go to my man Melvin, who's been here about the same amount of time, right? How long have you been here, Melvin?
8 months.
8 months. Okay, about the same. So a little bit about your background. People know. I mean, I know. They've seen you both on a podcast before somewhere, but just a little bit of background, real quick, about yourself too.
Yeah. So I came to the United States of America about 5 years ago, December 31st of 2016. I did the last semester of high school in Summerville, South Carolina. Came to my father's house, and was able to graduate 4.0. I mean, you name it, and then. I got recruited by the National Guard and got sent to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and graduated as a combat engineer in December. And then went to college and did that, and then started my own business on the dental side, where we acquire and manage medical practices, dental practices, and take over the business side of the practice, so that the dentist can focus on what matters most, is the patients, right? So it's a startup, and then I had to find another way because in my dental business, I don't pay myself a salary for now until we hit critical mass. So I had to find another system that will let me pay for my bills, and then I can find a way to add value to the community. It's a project that I like to do. So that's what FFL does for me. Before FFL, I used to sell above ground pools with blue whirlpools, and it was sales 100%, low commission, and then all of a sudden I see a YouTube commercial from Todd, my guy who brought me in, which I'm grateful for him. And
a podcast?
A YouTube commercial.
Yeah.
It was not a podcast. It was just him saying, "Hey, I helped over 25 families in 1 week," and I was like, "Really? Can you do that?" Wow, I'm helping a lot of families, get into a mortgage with a pool. Let me help them get protected, And then I called him up and set up a meeting, and the rest is history. So now I'm here.
Wow, that's awesome. And I remember when we used to do those, like in the beginning, which is funny. We would ask, and that's probably what he did. We were probably asking, "Hey, could you do a quick video?"
Yeah.
And so I think we gotta, get away from that, and it's something as simple as a 15, 20 second, 30 second video and put on Instagram, whatever, can be huge, especially you guys. You definitely should be doing a lot of that. So, Melvin, did you tell me your best week and best month yet?
No.
For Families Protected?
No, so my best week has been 15 families, and my best month is almost 40 families.
40s, yeah. And you were just telling me before we started here, you just got a bonus for that, right?
Yeah.
which is nice. Back over to you, Joseph. What are some things that you're doing now that maybe you weren't doing in the beginning, or some things that you've learned that if you had to go back in the beginning, somebody's new watching this, somebody's young, they're like, hey, I want to do this, I'm kind of a little scared, whatever. They're jumping right into the business or they're thinking about it. What are some things that you've learned that you might change in the beginning, and some things you did that worked?
Yeah. So I think one of the big things that changed for me is just how much, because I went, so in the beginning, I came from an investing background because I was doing like stocks, crypto, stuff like that. So I understood that. That wasn't a problem for me. I think my problem was I put way too much in the beginning. Instead of making sure like my bills and stuff were taken care of, I just threw everything into it that I had. I think going into it, I would start off buying some older leads so you could get the quantity up, so you have more swings, more chances to hit a home run. Because in the beginning, I was buying the expensive leads first when I didn't have the experience, the closing that I should have had to run those. So I would say start off buying some older leads. I buy 1 month internet leads is almost all that I run now. Mix it with some mortgage, and that's what helped me protect 10 families a week. My first week, I was able to help 11 families just off of internet leads. So that's something I would change, is buy older leads in the beginning. Something that I would say to keep doing that I think I've been decent about doing from the beginning is staying plugged in and listening to podcasts, being active in the group chats, coming into the offices. I had to drive 3 hours to get to this office until I moved down here to be close to the office.
Where were you at before?
Fayetteville, so Fort Bragg area.
Yep.
So I would have to drive. I would leave at 4:30 in the morning to get here to Dial, and then I would leave at 9 or 10 at night and get back home to start the run days. And so I did that for a couple weeks until I decided, you know what, I should probably just move over here instead of doing that. So, getting plugged in is the big thing.
Yeah, it is. And, with work spots, it makes it easy, right?
Yes.
Go to office. And it's funny because we're going to go to Melvin here, and he'll tell you his story, right? Like, we already know it, but I'll let him tell it. And why he's in this office, it was similar. He was driving 3 hours, right?
From Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah. How long did you do that before you decided, hey, I'm going to be there in that office? And why?
Yeah, like 2 months because of the energy.
Mm-hmm.
And then just, work spots. And I mean, if you're not in work spots, I mean, you're missing out. There's high performance people here. And we're not talking about workaholics, like high performance people. There's a difference between workaholics and high performers. Workaholics, they like to work and they like to dial for 9 hours and they don't book appointments. High performers, they know how to do it, and at the same time, they show others how to do it. And those others show the others how to do it. So that's why I'm here.
Yeah. And going back to that, so high performers, right? So do you think, Melvin, in your own case, do you think they were a high performer in the beginning, or do you think that it was learned over time watching high performers? Because you mentioned something there, and I personally believe that if someone does come in with that work ethic and they're doing for the right reasons, like it's not just, hey, I'm just here working 12 hours, but they're really having that 10. Do you believe that people will improve with that attitude and become a high performer? They can. Is that possible?
Yes. So the skill will catch up to the work ethic. If you don't have the skill yet, it will catch up to your work ethic. Yeah.
That's awesome. And you learned that by?
Yeah, by my mother, the military. I mean, meeting a lot of successful people, and they tell me the same thing. They have that thing in common.
Yeah, but when you came here, you learned when you started learning about the culture. Did that like attract you even more to what you were doing?
Yes, because you're the average of the 5 people that you hang around with. So why not hang around with the high performers?
Where did you hear that?
Well, I heard that from my priest in Dominican Republic.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it's funny, when I was your age, true story, when I was your age, no kidding, I was in a network marketing business, when I was y'all's age. That's how I learned how to just business in general. I started learning and reading books and associating, and I don't know if I shared this with you, but I worked literally, I was like you in a different thing. I had this business, right? Mm-hmm. I worked a full-time. I was selling cellular phones in the D.C. area. Think about that in 92. It ages me a little bit, but no one was buying cell phones back then. It wasn't like today. Everybody has one. It was like 2 people had them. No, but it was different, right? I had that, and then and I also tossed newspapers in the middle of the night. Like I slept 2 hours, literally. Just same thing you did. I just did it in a different time and, had a different business and wasn't probably making as much business or money as you at that time. I know I wasn't. But the same effort was there, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Okay.
Talk about that mindset, though, because I can talk about that all day long. But how important, we were talking about this earlier, how important is the mental toughness side of our business, like how to get uncomfortable? Because this might have been uncomfortable for you in the beginning. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't because you were doing so many other things, but was it? And if it was, how did you overcome that?
Yeah, at the beginning it was uncomfortable, learning how to do the presentation in the first few days. But I still helped over 8 families. I didn't know what I was doing, but I still had Todd there, and I called him up, and he just said, "Hey, you do this, and that." But anyways, going back to what you were saying, I came from a background where in my dental business I still have to do a lot of cold calls in the morning and in the evening to get to those owners because they work throughout the day. So being on the phone was not a problem, but just saying it the way that you say it, right, was not the problem. But it took me a couple of weeks to get to that level.
Yeah. Well, and I love the work ethic both of you have, and that's something that I guess it can be taught, but it has to be within you, the will to have that drive, I think, and do what's taken care of. So, and both of you are, I'm astounded by the fact that you're working here, and I think that's what I love about young people. They're like a sponge, right? And so I'm excited for you guys, truly am. What are some things that Joseph, that just some basic stuff from a schedule standpoint that you do every week to help you be successful?
Yeah, so I think one of the main things is the appointment count and becoming addicted to the activity. Because if you don't have the results, if you have the activity and you keep putting in the activity over and over and over again, you become consistent with the activity, the results are going to follow. And I think a big thing, what I run my appointments by is the rule of 8. So I try to have 8 appointments for each run day that I'm doing. So dial on Monday, I want 8 for Tuesday, 8 for Wednesday. Because the rule of 8 is 2 will no-show you, 2 will reschedule, 2 will no sale, and then you will sell 2. That's a 25% close ratio. That's very low. And if you run by that rule, our average sale, we help a family for each sale. So you're 2 families each day, 4 days a week. That's 8 to 10 families a week.
Right.
And so that's roughly 30 families a month. So
Right.
if you follow that rule of 8 and you just put in that activity to make sure you have that 8, it's hard to miss that goal.
Yeah. Well, I love that. And you're kind of doing minimum, right? Like, because it's not always going to be that way. In some
Right.
cases, you're going to have 4 families protect 5,
Yeah.
maybe even 8 in some cases. It happens. But he's putting the numbers in your favor, correct?
Right.
And Melvin, what are some insights for you that you've learned that help you from a schedule standpoint? Similar, different, whatever.
Yeah, right there, schedule. Yeah, just make sure that you're actually doing effective work every hour by the hour. So, for example, my schedule, I wake up at 4. From 4 to 4:30, I do my calisthenics, my workout, and then from 4:30 to 5, I shower and do my hygiene, and then from 5 up until 8, most of the days, sometimes 10, I'm working on my dental service organization business, and then from there, I'm implementing my Courage style of dialing and then doing same-day appointments up until 9, and then from 9, I eat something, and then from 10 to 11, I end up sending emails, and then from 11 to 12, hygiene, 12 to 4, back to bed, do the same thing all over again. I'll beat you, though, you see?
I love it. Well, I mean, you can sleep when you die, we always say.
I mean, add it up, yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, that's the whole thing. Like I was saying, I mean, we won't be the most talented necessarily or the smartest. You're pretty smart. But in myself, I knew I had a lot of things going against me, but one thing I can do is outwork people,
Yeah.
and that's what I love about the opportunity that we do have, is that it doesn't matter where we came from, what we look like, races, none of that. I mean, that's what I love about our culture. It's just everybody has a chance to win if they work hard and they're teachable and coachable. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. So as we kind of start wrapping this up over the next, 5-10 minutes, whatever, don't go anywhere. But so what are some things that you've learned? Again, take yourself back to that very beginning. They're just getting started, or they're looking at this opportunity, right? They're coming from different backgrounds. Some things that you would want them to think about to get better, to start off fast, things like that. What would that be?
I would say a big thing is keeping track, knowing your numbers. So once you put down in your schedule, once you have all your appointments scheduled out, Then once you go to them, keep track of the ones that were no shows, keep track of the ones that were no sales, keep track of the ones that you sold, and then write that down and keep track of that. And then after the first 30, 60 days, go back and look at your numbers, because you can't judge anything the first 30, 60 days you're in here. That's learning. But then you go back and see where you need to improve. If you've got a massive amount of no-shows, you need to tweak your phone script to make sure you're tying it down. If you got a massive amount of no sales, you're doing something in the in-home, and then you bring that to whoever brought you on, whoever's helping you teach this business, and you tweak it and figure out, because in this business, it's not one big massive change usually that's the problem. It's tweaking just something here, something there to improve the overall result. That's the biggest thing I've found, is keeping track of your stuff so you know where you're at and what you need to work on.
Yeah, that's huge. We used to call it a batting average, right? Just keeping track of it. Will let you know how many attempts you need, how many swings you have to make a hit, right?
Right.
Yeah,
right.
kind of thing. I do want to come back. I want you to both think about this too. We were talking about plugging in earlier, and I know that sounds weird, plugging in, but the importance of that. We'll go ahead with you, and then we'll go to Melvin. But what do you mean by that? Like for us, I know we had our Zoom earlier. Melvin was on certain things. Talk about the importance of that.
Yeah. So plugging in, being on the team calls every week, being on Sean's call on Saturday, being on the TNLs, encouraging when you see people post sales in the group chats, encouraging people saying, hey, good job, way to go, way to protect the family. Because, when you post a sale in there, it feels good when everybody comments on yours. So why wouldn't you do that for other people? You do what you want done to you. And, being active in the Facebook groups, answering
Slack,
people questions.
Whatever.
Yeah,
Slack, right?
even if they're not on your team, like answering questions,
100%.
stuff like that.
Yeah, I love that. What about you, Melvin? What have you found? Because you're obviously busy, and you're busy. You've got to be really defined with your schedule, which you are. Obviously, it's how you're making it work. But what are some things that you do, or what would you say to somebody who's new, starting here? How important is that for them? Because if you didn't plug in, I mean, as busy as you are, you probably wouldn't know a lot of the stuff. Correct?
Correct. Yeah. So, hey guys, what plug-in really means, I mean, when you get into FFL, you're going to go through a boot camp, okay? It's going to give you the general overview of how to do stuff. But then after your first couple of weeks, you want, if you're really serious about this, you want to get better. So how do you get better? Inside the home, inside the sale. How do you get to the next level? Go to the next level, YouTube. We have everything for you. You just got to click on it and then, join the video, plug in how they say it, and learn. And then implement it. After that, then check on yourself, just like Joseph was saying. Check with your manager or check with another high performer, and go from there.
And I want to say this, because I'm sitting here, I always say what's on my heart, but I remember sitting here with Melvin the very first time, and I remember thinking, who is this kid? Like he's dressed sharper than I am. I'm going to say he's got a tie on. I'm wearing a T-shirt, which that's what we love. We can wear this and still do our job and what we need to do. Of course, if I'm in the field, just say, I wore a collar, Family First Life shirt. But I remember sitting here this day, and I remember asking him that question, like how he says I work part-time. And, of course, in my mind, it's like part-time, I'm thinking at that time. And then I asked him, I said, well, how many hours do you work? He says 40. And I'm like, that changed my game in my head. But there was still something about that. Melvin is like, man, is he going to make this? Like, because he's got this other deal going on. Like, he understands it. And I knew he was going to be successful, whatever he did. But I got to tell you, you've done more for me, more for FFL, more for our group by you being here. I want you to understand that.
Appreciate
it means
you.
a lot. It means a lot. So both of you guys. I mean, anytime young, but I'm just, when Melvin said that, it's just like that energy, knowing that there's young people out there that still believe that they can work that hard and and do well, means a lot. And there are. I mean, there's a lot of guys that are YouTube sensations and this and that are young people, right? And it's just nice to see you doing well here. So we enjoy you being here for sure. Don't go anywhere. But no. So Melvin, as we kind of get in, what are some things? Again, we've talked about plugging in. What are some things maybe you do when you get on dial day? Maybe some things you're saying or that might help somebody, or some things you're overcoming. And then the same thing within the home.
Yeah. So dial days, the tone is very important. Don't sound desperate. You know when you pull up at Wendy's, how they sound, or a biscuit bill? They say, hey, sir, how can I help you? You got to sound like that. because you're really, realizing, they don't care about if you don't take the product or not. They're just serving as many people as they can serve. And when the client, hears that type of tone, then they realize, okay, he doesn't want to sell me this policy. He really wants to work what I got within my budget and then help my family get protected. So the tone is important. And then listening to training. When I used to do in-home, I used to listen to Dave. I used to listen to Mike, Todd's videos, and Jay Conan mainly, because I really copy his in-home. And before I get to the home, I listen to his training or other people's training that I want to listen to. And it kind of puts your mind in the zone. So when you get in the house, it's just like automatic. Because when you start thinking about the process, once you're in the home, it's not going to go that well. Usually when high performers perform best is when they do it automatically as opposed to thinking about it.
Love it. What about you, man? As we kind of wrap this thing up, what are some things that you did in the home or whatever?
Yeah, I think one of the big things was digging into the why, because sometimes I would get so excited and nervous going through everything, I'd forget to ask why they needed it in the first place. And then you get to price, and once you present price without anything attached to it, like an emotional why, it's like, I need to think about it, or yeah, that sounds good, I'll get back to you, So really digging into the why and making sure they understand that this is very important. If something happens to you tomorrow, your family doesn't have this, like that does not look good, that you're screwed. And so making sure that, the worst thing in the world is knowing that somebody needs the coverage and you can't convey that properly to them. That something bad's going to happen if they don't get this. So really digging into the why and helping them understand why it's beneficial for them to get it.
Right. And Melvin, with you, it's not easy, right? But it is, right? If we have the right mindset. Would you agree?
Simple, but not easy. Right. Sometimes, it's tough, but you still got to do it.
Yeah, you got to push through, right?
Yeah, push through it.
Yeah, man. How do they get a hold of you? They want to come work with Melvin.
Yeah, so you can call me on my cell phone, 202-956-9118, or on Instagram. I got a new Instagram now.
All right.
I said Mel Tejada _FFL.
There you go. What about you?
Yeah, my phone number is 910-964-4054. You can shoot me a text or call me, and then my Instagram is jwhip_FFL.
Love it, man. Well, I appreciate you guys being on, and with that said, I mean, I'm just glad to be in business with guys like this, and we have just an amazing company here. So if you get a chance, check us out again, FFL Velocity on YouTube, and then of course at Dave Witchard on Instagram. And we'd love to pour into you, give you any information we can to help you make the right decision. But I believe everybody should be here. I really do. If you're in this industry, now we have Cigna yesterday, Aflac.
Yeah.
I mean. So reach out to these guys. We'd love to have you. Appreciate you guys being on and sharing, from your heart, and it always means a lot. So thanks so much for everything.